Hello, my name is Kafui Dey. My guest is a communications consultant, politician, traditional ruler, author, and a lot more. He has absolute hope in Ghana, no matter what. Who is he? You'll find out shortly. But I'll take this moment to urge you to, if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel so that when the notifications come, you will be part of the people who get the alerts, and then you can experience new content. Honorable Fritz Baffour, happy to have you on the show.
Thank you.
I'm really happy to talk to you, but before anything else, I'd like to just express my condolences on the passing of your sister.
Thank you very
Mahama.
much. Thank you. Thank you.
How are you holding up personally?
Well, one has to be tough. I shouldn't have liked me to have fallen down or broken down, so we carry on regardless, but it's a very, very sad time for my family, her friends, and I.
What kind of a woman was she?
Very solid, very hardworking, very much loved. She always mentored people and all that. So the outpouring of grief that is coming out from a lot of people is very touching. And it has given us a new sort of, we've looked at her and seen, we didn't know her as well as we thought we did.
You're getting new vistas into her
New
life.
vistas, yes, very much so, yes.
What has her passing reminded you about life?
That you've got to do the best that you can, because life is short, which is a cliche, but it is true. And that you have to do the best that you can while you are able to do it.
I'm just wondering, how does grief change how a man in his 70s looks at time?
Well, you know that you're going to have a lot of experiences like that. As you grow older, you lose more people. And so you've got to come to terms with the grief and look at the lessons of, the bereavement. And, you'll be consoled by the fact that you've met good and bad people. The impact they've made, it also gingers you, all right, and inspires you, if you are that way inclined, to do better things and be kind and be loving and be understanding. I think aggression and anger is something that you learn to eschew as you get older and older, and you see these experiences and the little instances of grief that will come your way. And I have lost quite a few important people this year. So, it has really changed the way I look at a lot of things. I think I've got to be gentler, more understanding, and more tolerant about a lot of things. Not tolerant so that I'll let things that are bad go on.
No.
But to do things where you have an understanding of the other person's point of view. Yeah.
You just mentioned that a lot of important people to you have gone this year. One of them, I'm sure, being the late Mrs. Rawlings.
Was like a sister to me. From when I was very young. I've known her all my life. Our parents were very good friends, and I was in and out of her life so many times. And I've sort of inherited her children because I love them so much. They mean so much to me. They're very dear people to me. And so I realize I have a responsibility to others who are not blood, but, togetherness and a certain belief in each other makes it a blood relationship.
Indeed, indeed. May the souls of all the dearly departed rest in peace.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Let's talk about your childhood and your family.
Yeah.
What is your earliest memory?
The earliest memory I have is that, we lived in Collegon, which is where I still live.
And you were born there too?
Yeah, I was born in Collegorsville, which is just around the
road,
corner. Yeah. My mother was a midwife, a trained midwife. My father at that time, he was a trained engineer, and at that time he was a chief engineer at the Accra Town Council. And so we lived in my maternal grandmother's house in Collegono, which is still there. And I lived with an aunt, my mother's sister. We lived in a family house. And I was much loved by my mother's elder sister, Auntie Adole. And my father went blind temporarily, so they sent him abroad, and my mother went with him.
Did you know why he went blind
I
temporarily?
think it was glaucoma,
Okay.
but so when he came back,
With the sight restored?
it was taught, yes,
Okay.
to a certain degree.
Mhm.
I didn't know my mother. I was more inclined to my aunt,
Mm.
and so I can remember that. My mother, Fritz, come to me, and I said, "No, this is my mother." But that blew over.
Yeah. How old were you? Do you reckon you were at that age?
I think I was about 2.5.
Yeah,
getting on
that's a long time
3,
ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you
Yeah.
remember those
Yeah,
feelings around it?
I've got I have these flashes of memory that take me back really, really far into
That's
my
incredible.
youth, yeah, and my childhood, yeah.
What was growing up in your home like?
Oh, my dad was a very friendly, he was a very engaging sort of person. He was an engineer, but he was a good historian, a good musician, and he was a Renaissance man. He acted in The Boy Kumasinu, which was the first Ghanaian feature film.
Really?
He was the lawyer in it.
That was your dad?
Yeah, and then he produced, when he was in Achimota, The Pirates of Penzance, Gilbert and Sullivan operators and things like that. So we had this happy home. My mother was a little strict, being the kind that the midwives of that time were usually sent into the rural areas, and they were very hard on hygiene and sanitation and nutrition. So my mother got the name Akoblo.
Meaning what?
Go and get a broom. As soon as she walks in, this place is filled, that sort of thing. She was a very strict woman, and but loving.
Did she cane you?
Oh, except for the slaps, I always got them. Those days, it was a different kind of cultural sort of environment. So being thrashed wasn't something that would disturb you mentally. You knew that you had done something wrong and you'd be punished.
Which of the thrashings do you remember most vividly? And why were you thrashed?
Oh, after that one, I was thrashed for that was later on when we moved from Polygon onto Ridge. There were always piles of soil, and I had a friend next door who I later on found was a relation of mine, and we used to dig, and we were doing dams and playing in the soil, and my dad thought that was a sure way of getting tetanus or some disease.
Yes.
So one time he caught us on this mound of soil, and I got a thrashing I had never forgotten.
So your both parents would thrash you if you misbehaved?
Yeah. I mean, you'd get whacked. But my mother would whack you because you lost your pen or your pencil, or you came back with ink on your shirt or something.
Did you feel she was wicked?
No. To a certain extent, I thought she was unfair. But as I grew up and I went out of that, I realized, there was a reason for it. Because, it matures you. Learn certain things, what to do and what not to do. So I'm the sort of person, I can't leave my room without the bed being made. You know what I mean? And I can't leave my room in an unhealthy state or, in disarray, because of that kind of training.
So you traced that to your mom?
Oh, yes.
Your father was a scientist and an engineer.
That's right.
What did you learn most from him?
He was a very wise man, and because his grandfather was a chief, when you live in a chief's house or you live close to the traditions of the palace, you tend to be very understanding, very open, and he taught us tolerance, and he taught us that to go deeper when it came to knowledge, you just didn't take face value. You had to go in deep. And that there was a logical end to every single human endeavor.
Right.
There was a reason for it, not necessarily at the end, but a reason for it.
So you reckon that was his scientific mind working?
Yes,
Yeah,
very much
logic.
so. And he loved people, so he was kind and very generous. And I've come to understand that that's a very powerful asset to have as a human being, to be generous and to be kind.
In your 70s, do you still miss him?
Very, very much. Both of them.
What moments come to you and then you think about them?
Oh, when I have problems in terms of relationships and things like that, I wish I could go to any one of them and say, look, this is what has happened to me. How do I solve it? You know.
Yeah.
But then you also think of how they would react. They're gone.
Yeah.
So your thoughts of how they would react will be what would sort of, you know,
Guide your
help
movements.
guide your movements. Yes.
You used to dream of them?
Once in a while, and you know, I have a certain healthy respect for metaphysics, and so sometimes I think they come and they advise you or they warn you
And then
in
they go off.
dreams and they go off, and I've seen it happen. So, but I don't want to go too much into that.
I'm curious though.
Yeah, I know. I accept it, but yeah, but in our culture, we really have to understand that our ancestors are always with us.
Yeah. I understand you're from almost every part of this country, north, south, east, west. You have an interesting lineage.
Yes.
Break it down for my people who don't know.
But I think that most Ghanaians have the same kind of antecedents as I have. But I was fortunate that, you know, we seem to have documented evidence of who we are. I mean, in terms of the modern terms. And the fact that we could also, we had people who tell us, you know, our antecedents. You know, my father was born in Elmina, and his father was the son of the regent of Elmina, Chief Kwekuando, who
That's
became
infanticide.
Yeah, who became the chief scout to the British Expedition Force to Ashanti. All right, and so there was an occurrence there because he led Sir Garnet Wolseley to Kumasi. And when they sacked Manshia, he found the daughter of the Yana there and had brought her back. And that child, the first child, was my grandfather, R.P. Baffour the first.
Who became the first vice chancellor?
No, my
the
father,
of the
my father's father.
father. Okay.
All right. And so there's a story there, and it goes into history. The Gonjas, at a certain stage, attacked the Dagombas in the 19th century, and they came very close to Yendi. And so the Yana of the time, Yakubu, got in touch with the Asantini and asked Asantini for help. So the Asantini sent his troops, and that's how they stopped the Gonja invasion of the Dagomba state at the time. So they established a treaty where the children of the Yana, the daughters of the Yana, were sent to Manshia, and the princes of the Asantini were sent to Yendi. So there was an ambassador of the Ashantis in Yendi, and there was an ambassador of the Dagombas in Ashanti. And there was a symbiosis between the two of them. And that is where, as I said, the Yana's daughter managed to get to Elmina.
Yes.
All right. Now, at that time, there was a little ethnic divisions, and so ethnic, you know, differences, discrimination against people of the north by the Fantis. And so when Chief Anna died, she wasn't very happy. So she wanted to go back up north. Now, very funny occurrence again. She was going across the bridge near the Elmina Castle and saw two officers of the Ghana Police, the Gold Coast Constabulary. Their barracks was then in the Elmina Castle. And she heard them speaking in Dagbani. So she approached them. And they said, oh, well, word had come out that one of the princesses of Dagomba was lost. Dagbon was lost. And she said, it's her. So they helped her back.
Straight.
And she went back to Tamale. So she took most of her children, except my grandfather and a couple of his siblings were left behind in Elmina. So I have a direct link. I have relations in Dagbon. And I've been to Yendi to see the Yana, the Yona, who is the Savlugu, the chief of Savlugu. We're all related, and it's a direct and it's a credible relationship. So that's also a factor. But then I found out that Chief Ando himself was not from Elmina. He was from Senyabreku. Yeah, and Senyabreku was also very much a fort. They had a fort in Sijambriku, and he was a factor. That means he was a salesman for one of the UAC companies. It was called Swansea and Sons. It was because he, and he was well educated and everything, and so he used to trade in Ashanti, and in those days they had trade routes. And when we say trade routes, all the companies had their secret routes to the various clients and customers. So he knew he had a special route in which he used to take to send goods to Ashanti. That is why they made him the chief scout for the forces. So history then encompasses my antecedents, and it made me interested in history. And my father's very, very interested in that too. Then my grandmother, my father's grandmother, is one of the custodians of the Amiao in Sona's Tool in Elmina, which is actually a Bronghafu stool for Tichiman.
So you're now going towards the east, the west.
So the Tichiman people used to come down and pour libation, and the day they moved the stool from where my grandmother used to live to the new stool room, the rituals that went through with the Amiao family came down. Konfi Amiao, Professor Konfi Amiao's father,
Minister, yeah.
he came down and they did the rituals and everything. And even at this time, around Christmas, when we had the Elmina Broja, because the Elminans use a different calendar. They use the Gregorian, is it one of the calendars?
Okay.
I think the present one is the Julian calendar.
Yes.
I think theirs is the Gregorian calendar. So their Christmas is in New Year. And that's when, we get people from Tichiman to come and pour libation. So, I have that. Then my mother, whom I thought was Ga, then I realized that apparently my mother's father, my mother's paternal grandmother was not from here, but she was a freed slave from Sierra Leone, but found out that she had roots in, in Akwapim. And when you look at these things, and then it makes you curious. It's not that you feel, you want to know. So how did this happen? So then you get interested in the slave trade. How did they free the slaves? You understand? And then I found out, I went to, when my mother died, I was at the funeral when a colleague of mine, Mike Hammer, came and said, "Hey, Denwaha, what are you doing here?" And I said, "This is my mother's funeral." He said, "Oh, but that's his aunt." And his mother was sitting there and said, "Mike, didn't you know that Fritz Baffour is your real cousin?" Not knowing that apparently my grandmother, my mother's grandmother, had come on her mother's side, the maternal grandmother, had come from Winneba. She came to trade and didn't come back. Or she met somebody in Accra, and that was that, you see. So then you say, how did the Winneba people, what was the relationship with the Winneba people and the people of Jamestown? Then you realize that there was a Winneba community that came and settled in Jamestown. And people like the Molds are from that. And then you try to find out, do you have a linkage and all that? So networking in Ghana is very easy. If you have the same kind of experiences or you have the same kind of knowledge, you'll find out that, you're not what you seem.
No.
But your antecedents also help you. And so that's what made me love Ghana more, because when I started doing Sincerely Yours and I started using it to look into Ghana, I found that this country is a wonderful and a marvelous country.
I'm glad you've just taken this tour of your people who form you. I mean,
right.
And for me, two things. Tribalism makes no sense.
It doesn't. It doesn't at all. You could get angry on the short term because somebody's done something and you want to blame the person and you don't know how to couch your anger. So you say, oh, because he's from here. But it doesn't make sense. It doesn't. Any form of discrimination, especially based on human conditions, I think are unfair in most cases.
I said two things. Second thing, you were just the best person to be President Obama's tour guide.
Well, yes, because
Because the history literally lives.
yeah, and I read a lot. I mean, it's something that I've always done, and I ask a lot of questions too. When I'm in a situation, I will sit down. I mean, your dad was my very good friend, and I used to sit with him and ask him things, and he would tell me things relating to where he came from, why he took certain decisions and things like that. It's always been a certain curiosity for my self-enhancement, not for me to be better than anybody, but to be able to contribute to society more through understanding and through spreading the word that we have to be tolerant and we have to work together. So, you know, politics became a problem for me, though I'm a politician and I belong to a political party, because on the other side, there are a lot of wonderful human beings on the other side. And when, in terms of the political divide in Ghana, and you wonder that couldn't we find a better way in which we could work together instead of being at each other's throats all the time. And so in my little way, I try as much as possible to engage and talk to people and all that. And I think that that is the way I want us to go. And so I think that the democracy we have, the party politics we have, which is not good enough for us. We have to start thinking about it from our point of view and from our cultural point of view.
I'll touch on that again shortly, but I'm still interested in how you came to be the one to take President Obama around on his trip to the castle. How did that come about? And what did it mean to you personally?
I had just been elected.
MP for Ablekuma
South. And, you know, I was trying to find my feet.
So this 2009?
Yeah. And then I was called by a friend and he said, "Oh, Obama is coming. I want you to be on the committee." So I said, fine. And so I was informed that there'll be a meeting at one committee room or the other. Anytime I got there, they said another place. And I realized that maybe I wasn't wanted. I don't know why. So I gave up. So I was in my office. I had my own office, a private office, and I was writing away when I got a call. And it was from Honorable Kafui Dey. And he said, "Oh, Fritz, what are you doing?" I said, "Oh, I'm in Accra." He said, "Oh, can you come to Cape Coast?" Now, I'll tell you very honestly, I didn't have a penny in my pocket. But one thing my dad had told me, he said, when you go into politics, make sure that you always have a full tank.
It's as good as money.
Yeah. So I said yes. I said, "Can you come to Cape Coast right now?" So I said yes. But I said, "I don't have any money." He said, "Oh, we'll sort it out when you come." So I came to Cape Coast.
You drove yourself?
No, I've never driven a car in my life. That one I'll tell you.
Yes.
Never.
Why not?
Never. I'll tell you.
Never learned?
Never learned.
Never was interested?
Never interested.
Were you traumatized by an accident?
No. It was just that circumstances, you know, stopped me from...
Never curious? You were never curious?
Not really.
Okay.
I mean, when I see people, you know, going gaga over cars, I say, it's just to get you from one place to the other.
Just a tour, right?
Yeah.
So you were driven to Cape Coast?
I was driven to Cape Coast.
Very fast?
Very fast. I got there, I saw Kafui. Kafui said, "Hey, the Americans want somebody who can take them around, but they want somebody with a certain standing. And we've selected you." So I went with the Americans on a, you know, preview tour. And they were very much taken by me. So they said, "Oh, you'll have to help us. Or take Obama around." And I said, "Okay, fine." But I insisted that the duty tour guide should go with me.
Exactly. Why?
Yeah, basically because, I mean, in most cases, they are the professionals. They know the nuances and all that. And fortunately for me, he happened to be my cousin.
Oh.
You're right. I mean, I had nothing to do with you know,
He was just happening to be on duty on that day.
Yeah, I mean, he's a first-class tour guide. I mean, so we went around, and it was a great experience. I mean, for me, it was at that time it was the greatest thing because Obama, the first black president, and we grew up in the '60s with black power and everything, and I never imagined that America would have a black president. And here he was, and I was going to take him around the castle, talk to him about slavery and the things that had.
This was Elmina, right?
Yeah, Elmina, Cape Coast.
Cape Coast Castle.
It was fantastic.
What was he like on the tour?
Obama was a very careful person, very reserved, but very pleasant. And I could understand it. I can say it now because he was a black president. And I'm sure the white people in America who are against blacks wanted him to trip up. So he was very careful about tripping up. All right? But very pleasant. But his wife was something else. All right? She was wonderful.
Was she emotional?
Yes. But, they didn't cry. They were very controlled. But, I mean, they were deeply moved. You could feel it because of the kind of questions they asked and all that. And Obama came not only with his wife, but the children and his mother-in-law. Okay? And it was a great experience for me.
Did you think Ghana, we presented ourselves in a good light?
We did very well. What we didn't do was that we should have used that opportunity to market Ghana more.
Opportunity missed, right?
Yeah. We should have, I mean, this man had come and we should have done something about it so today we should be talking about the fact that we were the first African country that Obama, the first black president, came to. We have so many missed opportunities because we don't do things together. We tend to resent ourselves at important times. We do mean-spirited things. And I think we should have done better.
Should have done better. You're watching a conversation I'm having with the Honorable Fritz Baffour. He's a politician, he's a communications consultant, traditional ruler. I'll get to that in a short while. And if you haven't subscribed yet, this is the time to do it. I'm just curious though, your name, Fritz, what's the history behind it?
That's another funny thing. I found out that we were descended from a Dutch sailor who came to Elmina years back. And his name was Frederick Schmidt.
Okay.
And Fritz is the diminutive of Frederick.
Okay.
So we've had Fritzes in our family, my father's maternal side, for a long time, right down. So that's where the Fritz came in, because my grandmother is called Fritzwa, which is the corruption by the Fantis for a female Fritz.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like a Ofuzua or...
Yeah, yes. So
Fritzwa.
my grandmother was Mami Fritzwa.
Okay.
And there were several Fritzwas. So most Fritzwas are either from Elmina or Anumabo. And Anumabo and Elmina have a connection, which goes back to the days of the slave trade.
Indeed.
So that's it. So that's how it became called. So I'm Frederick Fritz, which is a tautology. But
okay, so officially you're Frederick Fritz.
Frederick Fritz Baffour,
okay.
Yeah.
Did you have any other names?
No. But I realized that somewhere I was born on a Tuesday, and I hear, because of my fighting spirit, I had an uncle who used to wrestle with the white men on the beach in Elmina called Akuma. So they call me Kumna Akuma.
That's all. You were a fighter?
No, the thing is, I would rise up to a fight in any time. I mean, I think very much the colleague on the side. If you play the fool, I'll say I'll get up. But right now, I realize I've lost the mettle and the strength to do so.
As a boy, what did you imagine you would become?
Oh, do you know something? I really wanted to be a doctor.
You did?
Yeah, I didn't know the implications. As a young boy, I used to see, I had a distant uncle who was the resident doctor at Tech, Dr. Bannerman. He was such a lovely man, tall, handsome, smelled very nice, put his stethoscope. I said, oh, I want to be a doctor. Then we had to go to a film show at the pharmacy department in Tech, and they showed a movie of an operation and the blood and the gore and everything. I said, me, never. So I forgot about it completely.
What replaced that dream? When you forgot about medicine, what else came into your mind?
Oh, I thought I'd be a lawyer,
Okay.
but that didn't work out.
Did you have a gift of
the
of
gap?
words?
Oh, yes.
So you knew that you could communicate well when you were young?
Oh, yes, good debater, and I read a lot, so that kind of thing. But I didn't realize that law also has its deep and tough side, you know, the human side.
Yes.
So really, I am so thrilled that I'm in the media. Filmmaker, actor, all those things. That's me. Because of the books I read and the things I loved, and you know, and I also like the fact that I've absorbed history as a core part of my persona.
Did you discover this about you in primary school or secondary school?
Secondary school.
Secondary school.
Yeah.
You went to Prempeh?
I went to Premier for a year.
Okay. In Kumasi.
In Kumasi. My father went to, he was the keynote speaker at one of the speech days. And then also I loved athletics. I loved sports.
You took part?
I did, but
Okay.
I wasn't good. You know, I wasn't that good. But I had heroes. Because apparently my mother in Achimota was a sprinter. Then my mother's elder brother, who became the chief of Jamestown, was a blue. He ran for England in the Empire Games or something. And my father also was chairman of the Gold Coast Boxing Board of Control. He also trained the athletes for the Empire Games, and he was, you know, that the kind of bit. So I grew up with sportsmen. You know, Roy Ankara would come to the house.
The boxer?
Yes. My father took him through some of the motions. Atukwe Clotte,
Another boxer.
Swordfish Ben, and Jack Toller, and all those people. Jack Toller worked in my father's workshop, the mechanical workshop of the Accra City Council. So I was surrounded. The house was full of people coming in, and they made impressions on me. So I love sports. So, and Prempeh College in 1962 was something else.
You were like 10 years old, I think?
Yeah, I was 10 years old. And they had an athlete called Usu Mensah. And Usu Mensah was one of the greatest secondary school athletes of our time. He 100 meters, 200 meters, 400 meters.
Oh.
He ran for Ghana.
Wow.
And at that time, the big competition was Ghana and Nigeria. And I remember the Nigerians had an athlete called Amu, who had broken the 440 yards record in West Africa. And Usu Mensah beat him. And Usu Mensah was named Osagyefo's own athlete.
Osagyefo's own athlete.
And Nkrumah gave him an award because
Nice.
he broke 3 records in 1962, the National Collegiate Championship. So, and then they had another one. He died a few years ago. He became one of the world's leading experts on sickle cell. His name was Oini Frimpong. And he actually won a medal in the Commonwealth Games. And in Mexico, he was 4th in the long jump. Oh. He was a hurdler. And when I went to Prempeh College the first year, he won the Victor Lodorum. That means that you are a good student and a good athlete. And these people sort of, I mean, the papers. In those days, the Graphic had a first-class sports page or sports pages. I mean, they covered everything. And you had great people like Agre and Kembediako and the Oniba Charles.
It wasn't just football.
No, not football. Ghana wasn't about football. It was table tennis. It was boxing, it was hockey, it was athletics, and then football, you know. And Nkrumah encouraged it because that was where we had the Central Organization of Sports, US, headed by Onijan. So with that, you know, I wanted to go to Prempeh College, and because these guys were my heroes. So when I went to Prempeh College, I just spent my time following these guys around. I'd leave my house for one boy and go to look for Usumensa to go and sit with him. And they you know.
They welcomed you?
Oh, they loved me to death. I really had fun. And I had all the annuals and the books, record books and pictures of the great stars and things like that. So, you know, they encouraged me around them. But my father had been instrumental in the foundation of a school, technology secondary school, which is called TechSec, because that was the University of Science and Technology Secondary School. And it was encouraging the lecturers to send their children there.
By then your father was the vice chancellor of UST.
He was then the principal of the college before he became the vice chancellor.
Yes. And the first Ghanaian?
The first Ghanaian. He was the first
vice chancellor, whether Ghanaian or not.
Yeah. And so he thought it was fair that he'd be encouraging the lecturers to send their children to the school.
And his own child.
So he brought me back. I didn't think it was fair at all, but I soon, you know, loved the idea of being in tech secondary.
Indeed. Yeah. And highlight of your time in tech secondary?
Great. I mean, you know what you have now, the national quiz or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah. We had something called the top school.
Top school?
Yeah. And it was a quiz.
What subjects?
Oh, everything.
General knowledge?
General knowledge.
Okay.
And I captained tech secondary to the finals on 2 occasions.
Nice.
And my elder brother also who had left in Fansford to come to tech secondary on like a remedial, also captained the school. So we did very, very well. And I was on national television, and that was one of the reasons why they brought me encouraged me into doing artistic work in GBC.
So you've been on TV since your teens?
Yeah, since I was about 13, 14.
Where did the coup find you, 1966?
Found me in bed. Woke up with it. I mean, we used to listen to the radio. I mean, in those days, your best friend was a transistor radio. You know, and I remember very difficult to get batteries if you had problems. So you take out the batteries when you go to school and put them in the sun so that they'll recharge and all that. So, I mean, in the morning we'd listen to Network Africa. It was called something else with Mike Egan, I think, was working for the BBC then. There were all kinds of very good African broadcasters. And so, you know, you put it on at about 5:30, 6 o'clock, and that's when we heard the news that the myth around Kwame Nkrumah had been broken. Kotoka's coup speech. It shocked us, and my dad came. I'm sure he was a little disturbed, but he thought because he was a scientist and, you know, he was a very good friend of Kwame Nkrumah. Oh, and then that's when the knives were taken out and they went after him. So it was a very difficult time from 1966 to 1969.
Did they take him out of his
position? They put him before, I think he was in front of about 12 commissions of inquiry, because he had so many roles. He was on the Ghana Academy, he was the vice president of the Ghana Academy of Sciences and Arts, which is the arts and sciences. And he was chairman of the nuclear, the Ghana Nuclear Atomic Energy Commission. He was on all the various commissions. And so they brought him, and they harassed him. But he came out smelling roses. I mean, but it was a difficult time because he had been moved from tech. After tech, they had adverse findings against him, which had nothing to do with corruption or anything, but maybe his style, his management style, which people tell me was the best. But, you know, when the knives are out for you, politically, you have a bad time.
How did it affect your family?
Oh, we had to move from tech. We had to move from the Vice Chancellor's house. My mother came to Accra, and my father was going around, you know, defending himself all over the place. So my mother set up a midwifery clinic, and that looked after us. We came back into the family mode, in family home in Accra and everything. So it just changed us. It just unbalanced us a bit.
Was your father bitter by the experience that was meted out to him?
That was the amazing thing about him. one day, I moved, when I finished Form 5 in 68, I didn't get enough grades to get into sixth form. Father was very, very disappointed, but he said, okay, so you have to go to Workers' College.
For the World War II?
World War II. So I did it in Cape Coast. So I lived in Elmina, and would go to Cape Coast Workers' College, who just in Philip Kwaku, the famous school.
Yeah, the founder of that school.
Yeah. And Dad had come because he wanted to give me money for pocket money, so he took me to the bank. So we were in the bank when this man came in, and he was one of the vociferous ones against my dad. You know, because all kinds of people turned against him all of a sudden. People I liked and I loved, all of a sudden they became enemies. They didn't want us around. So my dad, you know, he was at the talking to the teller, and this man came in and saw my dad, and I could see he got a little startled, and he turned. So I, you know, told my dad, look, that's the man there. And my dad said, oh, Jam, you know, smile on his face, shook the man's hand. The man, oh, yeah, sir, nice to see you, sir. Oh, I hope everything's going all right and all that. And so when we left, I was sitting in the car, and my dad, and I said, Dad, that man was terrible to you. He said, did you see how uncomfortable he was? He said, the man's uncomfortable. I'm all right. You know what I mean? He said, you know, in most cases, your enemies will make you what you are. Never hate. You know, and it's a lesson. I mean, naturally, I've gone through trials and tribulations, and I've realized that those things that he told me were really true.
Indeed.
Yeah.
It's a good lesson.
Very good lesson.
I'm curious about your first job.
In 1969, I was still good at maths.
Okay.
And you needed maths to go to sixth form. So I didn't get the maths. So my dad said, okay, don't worry. I will find a way of getting you well educated. So he said, got me a job at GNTC.
Ghana National Trading Corporation.
That's right. Now, that's another story. One of my dad's best friends was J.O.T. Edgeman. That is Nana Kunedu's father.
Okay.
From school. When my father was doing his graduate degree in Achimota, his best friend was J.O.T. Edgeman. And J.O.T. Edgeman in 1969 was the executive chairman of the GNTC, managing director.
For those who don't know, GNTC would be like a big mall,
It
right?
was bigger than a mall because it was a trading concern with shops all over Ghana.
Okay.
It had taken over AG Leventis. That's another story. And they had a motors division where they sold cars, Fiat cars, Plymouth cars, Dodge, and all that, and Mercedes-Benz trucks and things like that. And my father, being an engineer and out of a job, GOT brought him to restructure the motors division.
The power of network.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's, and then so my dad got me a job at GNTC, but I went to work at the provisions warehouse.
Okay.
Wholesale. At that time, Ghana, everything was, we had a price control system. And when goods came, we had women with passbooks, GNTC passbooks, UAC passbooks, all the big trading concerns had passbooks. That they had women clientele, market women, who would come and put a deposit, and they had a passbook that gave them, you know, first, yes, when goods came in, sugar, flour, and all that. And I was a deputy clerk. I used to process these things, and that's the job I had.
Okay.
And they gave me an insight into the market woman, because my maternal grandmother was a Mokola woman too. And because I loved reading, and I was very curious about, you know, whenever I came into a community or came into a group, I wanted to know the dynamics and things like that. And I got to understand, you know, and I made friends with the Kwawu traders. They were the male traders most of the males who came trading were Kwawus. And I became very close to some of them. And at that time I had found a love for beer. And these guys would take me to Metropole and to all the little places for a glass of beer and all that kind of thing. So that was my first job, and it was exciting. And from there, I went to Britain.
What did you learn most from your first job?
Oh, how to meet with people, how to meet people, how to deal with people. Sorry, meet people of different backgrounds and get to know why they did what they did and all that kind of thing, so that you wouldn't have prejudices, you know, because one of the biggest problems with most of us is that we have prejudices. You know,
set opinions.
Set opinions. Yeah, and you learn to start saying, give the guy a chance or give the guy a break, and how do you do it? You know, so it was good.
What took you to the UK though?
To study. You know, my dad said, all right, it's time for you to go and do your law.
By then you had done your A-levels?
No, I hadn't done my A-levels. But in Britain, you don't need maths to go and do your A-levels.
Why is that the system here in Ghana?
Well, because I think they were more strict. They were preparing most of us for work in government. All right? There it was more open. So I went, I did my A-levels. I didn't do as well as I should. But
what subjects?
I did English, literature, sociology, and geography.
Did they do general paper back then as well?
Yes, and
so
I got an A in general paper.
Okay.
And then I didn't get to do I didn't get the law faculty, which was at Kent University. So I went to Bristol Poly to do business studies. All right, and at that time I met my first wife and I got married.
Was she a British lady?
A British lady, yeah. So that was it. But, and then I, midway through, I got a job with, and another thing about Britain is that the emphasis is not on qualifications per se, but ability to perform.
So the paper thing?
No, you have to, the apprenticeship is even bigger than that. So you'll see that with the UAC in the early days, they just recruited people who were capable, and they'll teach you through their training. And I went through that same training with Littlewoods. I did 4 intense years. I traveled around the whole of Britain, you know, as a line management trainee, training to be a director, and there was a lot of in-house courses and things like that.
What was Littlewoods dealing in?
Littlewoods was a big trading concern. It was like Marks and Spencer's. But the owner of Littlewoods at the time was the richest man in England. His name was John Moores. He used to do the Littlewoods pools. That's where
the betting.
Yes. The Littlewoods pools got him into the Littlewoods stores, you know, because he was a P&T, he was a telegraph operator in the First World War. So he managed to get a list of people he could, it was like, he started with the mail order, all right, that he would buy goods and say, sell, you know, mail order, so that he removed the shop. But gradually he built himself so much stock that he decided to set up the stores.
To sell his stuff.
And Littlewoods Stores was one of the blue ribbon organizations in Britain at the time. And I was one of the first blacks.
What was that like? What was that experience like?
Oh, it was difficult. I mean, you saw the intricacies of discrimination, and then you saw also the fact that there were people who were above discrimination. You met people who loved you for who you are, dealt with you for who you are, but there were the subtle bits of discrimination and things that were said and everything, and it toughened me up.
Did you ever get physical with anybody who discriminated against you in the UK?
Not because, yeah, if you said something that was nasty, you know, I've punched a few people in the face before.
I'm looking at the size of your fist, and I don't think a punch from you would be pleasant.
Yeah, but after a time, I decided violence wasn't the best thing. But you know, it was an experience. So it was from there that I went into advertising, and advertising.
Still in the UK.
In the UK, I went into sales. Now I was selling for a publisher. Had several magazines, and they had a lot of journalists, and I met with the journalists became friends. I mean, I used to spend a lot of time in the pubs, and I needed a company. So we would go and sit down and talk. And one of them said, hey, your English is good enough for you to write. And then I had a when I was before I left, when I was in college, I had a very good tutor called Professor Giddings, who was in a wheelchair. He'd had polio as a young man. And this guy took a shine to me. He said I could speak well, and I had, you know, an intrinsic knowledge of literature. So he said, I'm going to teach you to understand the English language and to speak it well. So he personally tutored me. So when I went to work in advertising, the guys just wanted me to do things. And then somebody introduced me to a couple of television producers, so I started doing a little bit of work for them. And then my marriage started going iffy, so I came home.
So you broke up?
Broke up.
Okay.
2 children. But we're good friends.
Okay.
I mean, we talk.
The children are in the UK?
In the UK.
Okay. Have they ever been to Ghana?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Very much so.
Nice.
But, and so when I came back to Ghana, you know, I came back a little lost, you know.
What year did you land, touchdown?
81.
Oh, that's an interesting time.
Yeah.
Was this during the last days of the Liman regime?
Yeah. And so I came back, and I couldn't find my feet. I tried to go into advertising, but they said the salary that I had was in England, that they couldn't match it. So I started teaching. I started teaching English to Lebanese kids.
Okay.
Some of them I don't want to mention. I don't want to embarrass them. I don't know whether they're embarrassed, but out of confidentiality, I taught them. They were in GIS, and I was teaching them literature and everything.
Nice.
And I started writing for The Voice. I had a column called Village Gossip. And so, but
Village
it was
Gossip.
Village Gossip. It was a column.
What were the contents?
Oh, it was it was like a parody of the way Ghana was. You know, with Jerry Rawlings. I put it around and as a forthcoming leader and the things that he did and everything. Well, that was a long time ago. So after a year of trundling around Ghana and not getting the meteor of what I wanted to do, I just decided to leave. And my dear sister, the one I lost, was living in Liberia. Yeah, so I went.
Went to Liberia? Monrovia?
Monrovia.
What was that like?
Oh, super.
Touching down in Liberia?
Oh, it was, I mean, Ghana at that time was very difficult. I mean, commodities were nowhere to be found. You know, it was, foreign exchange was scarce, and it was a tough life.
That was Ghana?
Ghana.
And then when you compared it to Liberia?
Liberia at that time, they were paid in dollars. It was a free port. You know, I mean.
This is Sergeant Doe's time?
It was.
Or Talbot?
No, it was Doe.
Doe was in charge.
Yeah. So I went, and I got a break, and I started doing. I got a television program that I hosted.
Was that your first television show?
My first real television.
What was
show.
it called?
Just for You.
What were the contents of it?
It was a human interest program where I interviewed people who had just come into town. I had a little bit of music. I'd do a few investigative forays and all that, and the Liberians loved it, and I'd crack jokes and all that. So
it's like a variety show.
A variety show, that's
okay.
Yeah.
A bit like Mike Egan's show in Ghana?
Yes. And it was a very big success. And at that time, I didn't know the Mike Egan show. I mean, I didn't watch television that much when I came. But in Liberia, it was a big hit. And so I became a very popular person.
Wow.
Then,
so people would recognize you in the streets?
Oh, very much so. I'll call Joe for you. I see my man, that Joe for you walking down.
One time. What was it like to be a star? Did it surprise you? I mean,
well, I learned to live with it. But my dad, for all that he had done in the world, was a very humble person. And he tried to instill that in us. That don't brag too much. Don't go around with a bloated ego. So I was a little careful. And then also Liberia, I was a Ghanaian, you know, and we were We were very vulnerable.
But was there a bit of a Ghanaian community
Oh, big
there?
one. Big one.
In Liberia?
Yeah, because you had Ghanaian fishermen in Liberia. You had most of the tradesmen and craftsmen were Ghanaians or Togolese. Liberia is very cosmopolitan. It's a great place. So it was from Liberia that I went to Britain.
Oh, you went back to Britain?
I went to Britain on a visit, and I met a friend of mine from my Littlewoods days who had become a big producer.
Okay.
And then he brought me into, and the fact that I was doing TV, it gave me an opportunity working for Tyne Tees in Newcastle. So I spent a year working with them, and he was trying to get a program for me and everything. Then in 1984 Christmas, the company was sold, and the accountant said they couldn't afford to bring somebody all the way from Africa to come and host a show and everything. So I came back home. And when I came back home, my dad said, "You've been running around too much. Put your foot on the ground and let's see what you can do here."
So you didn't do any TV in UK, actually?
I did.
You did some. How do you compare British television to, say, Liberian television?
Oh, Liberian television, African television is more human. You know, you need to sweat. There they've got the equipment and the gadgets and the things, and so it makes it a little easier. But the human content, in terms of, we have a hold on content, you know. Because if you look at even the present day, you look at the films that come out, you realize that they lack the content that we have. We have got a far more bigger wellspring of content and stories than in Europe. It's just that we don't know how to couch it.
Or we don't even know, we're not even aware that we have this great content.
Yes, we tend to underestimate ourselves a little.
What makes a great television show?
It's got to be captivating. When somebody, you know, one of the best shows series which I admire, Game of Thrones. Captivating. You know what I mean?
You can't pull yourself away.
Yeah, I mean, they've been other great programs. You know, I mean, there was Wicked's World, which was like, I modeled Sincerely Yours on Wicked's World, where he traveled around the world and he talked to people and all that, and I saw his style and everything, the interviewing style and all that. But television has got to be captivating. So Avenue A, you know, and Osofodadze, that is television, captivating, where people will sit and be mesmerized by what they saw. That is good television. And even the news can do it. If you have a good news presenter. For instance, Richard Quest.
CNN.
You look at, I mean, you can't switch off Richard Quest.
It's true. He's captivating.
Right? Yeah, or Larry King when you're listening to him.
Yes.
You know, and in Britain there were quite a few.
David Frost.
David Frost was, I just love David Frost. Richard Bosunkwe, all those people. And so, television, but in Ghana, in the 60s, the television programs that came out of Ghana were top draw. Top draw. Because the cameramen, the sound men, they took their work very, very seriously. You know, I mean, competence was to the fore in everything that we did at that time.
Excellence.
Yes. You know, nobody would take anything for granted.
Was that a bit of the Osadufu spirit also?
Oh, very much
permeating
so. Yeah,
all of that?
permeating the African personality thing, that we could do things better than we'd done before. Very, very important. And not only Osadufu, all around Ghana we had people who were, you know, superlative. You know, so you talk about Professor Kwapong, you talk about Professor Abrams, you know, you talk about my father, you talk about Professor Alute, you know, I mean, Dr. Eastmon, Professor Amfom, all those people
So people were performing at a very high level.
Yes, I mean, when you saw them, you knew that these people, they were bent on excellence.
What went wrong?
I think the strands of history. You'll have your highs and your lows. It's how you handle it. You have to have certain institutions which never break down.
Like?
But in Ghana, we had them at the time. We had VRA.
Volunteer for Authority.
You had ECG.
Electricity Company of Ghana.
You Ghana Water and Sewage. All right? And you had the GBC. Look, if in those days, I wasn't too conversant with the Akan language per se, despite the fact that I have a funding background and all that. And you'd hear somebody speaking Tree, and you'd listen, because what was coming out was beautiful to hear. All right? Ghana. Everything that was done so well. The commentators, the Kenamos, the Gilbert Addis, these Festus Adai and all those people. Jolate, oh God. I mean, and they loved their work. But somewhere along the line, I think that what messed us up were the military coups. And it's sad, because the Ghanaian military in itself as an institution is a first-class institution. But they don't do well in civilian life. You see, because the hierarchical nature of the military, all right, doesn't transmute well in civilian life.
Yep.
Because entitlement without responsibility comes in. In the army, the entitlement is based on the fact that when there's a war, you've got to fulfill your obligations or you'll die.
Yes.
But not in civil life.
No.
So it became wishy-washy. And I think that is what Rawlings wanted to correct when he had his mutiny. And we had the June 4th, and then the December 31st revolution. And he tried to instill a certain sense of responsibility in our society and all that. And I think that if we had evaluated it well and decided to work together, it would have been better. Because when we started with the democratic dispensation, the Fourth Republic, in 2000, when my beloved President Kafui, who I love very much, a beautiful man, but I don't agree with his politics. I'll say that, but I respect him a lot because he comes out as a very good human being. When they took over power, it was as if they'd taken over power by coup, because they went after everybody else and disparaged everything and demonized, and that is not the way to go. And we also did it in December 2024 when we won the elections, and you start demonizing, and I think we have to be a little circumspect, because we are a country where there are linkages. I'm not saying that when people have done criminal things they should be let off. No, but we have to be very circumspect in dealing with one another. And it shouldn't be from hatred. I don't like what is going on in Parliament, despite the fact that most of the main players who are doing the things that are being done are people I like very much, but I believe that we should also have a certain sense of history. We should also think of what has happened before, and we should also listen sometimes to those who are a little older than us, those who are experienced. And I'm not talking about myself per se, but Rawlings had D.F. Annan, he had others who were older, Captain Chikata, the Obeds, who would listen to him. And I think that there are people around who have a great grasp of a lot of things that have happened before, who can advise us. And we shouldn't dismiss them
at all.
And we should create the avenues where we could do things. For instance, you know, it's good that we've really learned that we've got gold and we can use gold as an exchange for prosperity and everything from a different angle and all that kind of thing. But there are people there who are metallurgists. There are people there who are mining engineers, you know. And so right now, every time you hear of a Ghanaian who has done well, it's not from Ghana. He's living in the States. He's living in Britain. He's in Australia. Why? You understand? It is an indictment on us. We think, oh yeah, Ghanaian doing well, but he's in England. We should be doing that here.
Right here. You know? Do you think we are cured of the military adventures?
I can talk about it because I was chairman of Defense and Interior.
Was that really satisfying, that job?
Oh, I loved it.
Defense and Interior in Parliament.
You see, I like soldiers. When I sit down with military men, you know, of all ranks, I learn a lot. I am fascinated because you have to have a certain mindset. And
strategic.
Yes. You know, the soldiers I've met now, because of the peacekeeping work they've done in places where they've seen mayhem and, you know, civil strife and wickedness and cruelty, I think they're a little wary of that kind of adventurism.
And then we have our northern neighbor, Burkina Faso, being run by a military government.
Of course. I mean,
and when he came for the inauguration in January, he had the loudest cheer.
Of course he'd have the loudest cheer. Because don't forget that he doesn't have an institution that dissembles or debates. He can give orders. And sometimes, you know, the youth right now are impatient. They want solutions.
And they seem to love him.
Yes, they'll love him because he can take those decisions that they think are fantastic. But those decisions sometimes, all right, in the short term, may be good. I'm not criticizing him at all. You understand? Because I saw with Jerry Rawlings the things that he did. And I'll tell you something. Jerry Rawlings died because of Ghana. His passion was incredible. And it's my perception of that is heightened that he's gone. And now I can think of the things that used to worry him and everything. He taught Ghana 24/7. You understand? So I can't dismiss Traore. You understand? But Ghana, we've been there before.
What were the things that worried President Rawlings?
That the sense of obligation, sense of nationhood, you know, being somebody who was patriotic, somebody who would strive for excellence because he was a Ghanaian. You know, he went to Achimota, and Achimota is a crucible of the search for excellence. All right, we've messed it up a bit because I think that the free SHS, which is a good thing. I believe that, you know, secondary school education and all that, and education should be open to everybody. But I don't think we handled the transition well. So you can't have a school which was built for 600, which now has 4,000.
It's not going to work.
You haven't done the groundwork in producing enough teachers. You have to look at the curriculum. If you're going to do free SHS, then it's going to be a paradigm shift, where we have to start understanding that if we're getting things for free at a certain stage, how do we pay for it? So we prepare the people we're training with free SHS to come and say that to ensure that we're going to sustain free SHS, all right, let's have a certain mindset that will give us enough resources to maintain it. How do we do it? All right, we need about 300-400 more secondary schools in this country. We have to start looking at day schools. What is the curriculum that we're going to use? All right. And when you have day schools, how are the pupils going to go to school? Do we have a good transportation system? All right, all those things come to play. Do we have a good publishing system to produce the books? Are we training enough teachers? Now, what do we want Ghana to be like in 20, 30 years? Are we going to prepare these people to do that? All these things come to play, because that was what was used by Kwame Nkrumah in 1957. That was what was used by Kwame Nkrumah in 1957. And there are instances that I could mention, but unfortunately, I don't want to mention names. So, you know, the schools that he set up, the teacher training schools that he set up and all that, were meant that he said industrialization was going to be the key for developmental growth in this country. So he worked at it. And they started producing teachers, engineers, managers, that and that and that and that and that. Look at how VRA was run for such a long time. Political interference goes in, messes it up. There are some things that shouldn't be political at all. GBC is one, ECG is one, VRA is one, Cocoa Board is one. Because Cocoa Board in itself, the Cocoa Research Institute for a long time was the best cocoa research institute in the world. Everybody used to come to them. We can't throw away excellence and bring in mediocrity. So we really have to sit down and see how best and use all the resources we have. And we have incredible resources in this world, in this country. And I say that the most important resource is the human resource. So if you decide that you're going to throw away half of your resource base because of politics, this person is not NDC, so therefore we're not going to use him. And we have created a political system that because you are NDC, you have to behave a certain way, and because you're MPP, you've got to behave a certain way, so you're distrustful of each other and all that. We've got to get away from it.
I see it's really close to your heart, and you feel very passionately about it.
Very, very much.
You've spent a lot of your working life being close to power.
Yes.
You've worked with 3 presidents.
Yes.
President Rawlings,
yes.
President Mills,
President
Mahama.
Yeah.
What's it like working for or advising a president?
They're
Let's start with
different.
President Rawlings.
Rawlings was, with me, was informal because I didn't have a formal role. He made me a board member of the Ghana Tourist Development Company, and then he made me chairman of the Museums and Monuments Board, and then put me on the National Theatre Board.
Did you go to Rwanda in his time?
Yes, I did.
What was that like?
It was.
This is the 1994 genocide.
Yeah, horror story. But I went, and it was there. I was so proud to be a Ghanaian. The Ghanaian soldiers were marvelous. They weren't. With General Anyido, beautiful. The soldiers, their temperament. You know, you see Ghanaians, they're wonderful people. When you see them doing things outside, they saved over 2 million lives.
What marked you with that experience? What did you specifically go to do in Rwanda?
I went to cover, because apparently word had come out that the Ghanaian soldiers were being killed in Rwanda and they were being buried there. And Rawlings was worried. Now, unfortunately, GBC, because of insurance purposes and everything, said they couldn't go. So Jerry called me and said, "Can you go?" And I said, "I'll go." So
GBC couldn't go because of insurance purposes?
Yeah, but you're working for government. You are being paid a salary. If you go and die there, what will happen?
So they sent a private man to go and die there or what?
Well, he knew I was passionate enough that I'd go, and I went. And it was a great experience for me.
What saddened you most?
Oh, that Africans will be killing Africans. Because if you go to Rwanda, they speak only one language. The so-called Tutsi and Hutu divide is virtually non-existent. It's based on your facial features and everything, because they are intermarried and everything. And then they kill themselves over what? Over what? I saw it in Liberia too. I covered the war in Liberia. I lived in Liberia. And then I left Liberia. I came to Ghana Then Liberia, they start killing each other. I go back and I find out that close friends have killed each other. Most of my friends have gone. The broadcasting corporation I used to work for decimated. No. War and division is a travesty. It's a horrible thing.
And you've seen both?
Yeah, I've seen it. And then on top of it, when I was chairman of Defense and Interior, I went with the military high command. We went to South Sudan twice. And this is a country, when they had independence, had about $5 billion in their reserves. They used the $5 billion to buy arms, to kill each other. And then you go there and you see beautiful women, and they're not being used. And there's so much hatred, and when you look at the people there, there's no difference. Nah, it's wrong.
Makes no sense.
It makes no sense. Makes no sense.
What was the highlight of your time with working with President Rawlings?
Oh, it was
Did he ever intimidate you?
he would tell me off.
What's a
Like a big
General Rawlings
brother.
telling off like?
Oh, I remember one time I was traveling with him. Where were we going? We were traveling somewhere by the presidential jet, and he asked me to come along. And I met my cousin, who was the chief of air staff. All right. So while we were walking, I put my arm around him. I put my arm around the chief of air staff like that. I like a brother. When we got into the plane, man, this guy reamed me off. Jerry said, "How dare you? That's the chief of army staff. You put your arm around him. What do you think?" I just sat down. And then the chief of staff, "Oh, he's my brother." He said, "No, sir, he's wrong. Don't you know you're wrong?" I said, "Yes."
That's all.
I sat down, the place chastened. When he got down, he said, "I had to tell you because you don't do that." And then that was it.
End of story.
End of story.
Quite a humbling experience.
Yeah.
But he could be jovial too, right?
Oh, he had both of them. Nana and Jerry had an incredible sense of humor. You know, they loved to laugh, but naturally they couldn't do it in the public sphere. But they loved to laugh. And one of the reasons why I think was because I come in with a new joke and, tell us, and then,
Where were you when you heard of his passing?
I was driving, I was being driven, I was going somewhere. And then my sister, this Mahama, called me and said, your brother's gone. I said, "Which brother?" He said, "Jerry." I said, "No." So I drove straight to the house, and they wouldn't let me in. The guards wouldn't let me in, so I drove off. Then I got a call from his secretary. He said, "They wouldn't let you in. Don't they know that?" I said, "No." So I came back. I honest to God, I didn't believe it. And still, sometimes I sit down and I think, and I'll say, wow, so he's gone. Because after he left office, at least 4 years till his death, we became even closer because he was out of office and we could sit down and we had enough time to sit down and talk. And he was so concerned about Ghana. And it was about the average, because his heart was for the average man, the average Ghanaian on the street.
What was it like working with President Mills?
Oh, gentleman of the highest order. And sharp. His intellect was something else. Razor sharp. Razor sharp. So you had to be careful what you said to him. If you talk like a fool, he'll tell you that why, and he has a way of talking. So why do you think that? Have you thought of this and that and that and that? And then you see that
you're boxed in.
You're boxed in. That what you said was foolish.
I don't put President Mills and like rage in the same sentence.
No. The guy was too composed in a very nice way. In a very nice way. And John is very personable, but I didn't work with him enough. He's personable. He's got an incredible amount of charm. No one, and among his peers, I can see why they look up to him, But I didn't have that great interaction with him where I could advise him and all that, or you know, I mean, and he's eloquent, he's well read. So the thing is that he's just got to put a team together that would resolve a lot of issues. That's about it, and that's not a criticism.
The clock is ticking on his time. He has about 3 years more. What do you think are his biggest challenges? And what do you think of this
the biggest
third term thing people are talking about?
No. I'm telling you, I'm totally against the third term. For anybody in Africa, I think it's not fair. Because when we do that, then we're moving the goalposts. And there are a lot of people out there who are very capable. And I believe that, I believe very soon that we should have younger people as our heads of state.
Like a 40-year-old?
40, doesn't matter, 40, 50. But, you know, because the world has changed. You've got to have an understanding of tech. You've got to have an understanding of ICT, of computers and things like that, of AI and all that kind of thing. And then, you know, we can't do it all. But this country has always been ruled by very young people. When Kwame Nkrumah became Prime Minister of Ghana in 1957, he was 48, all right? When, what do you call, Liman was in his 50s, you see? So the movers and the shakers have always been very young. Kroboduse was in his 20s, you know, Kofi Baku was in his 20s.
Kofi was in his 30s, I think.
Yes, he was 29.
Not even 30.
So there is nothing wrong with it. It's just that put good systems into place. Systems that will be able to hold them, you know, accountable, all right? And they'll be afraid of the systems. I don't like the tinkering with system, the judiciary, the this and that. Those things should be left alone.
Like the VRAs and ECGs
yes,
that you talk about.
Yes, because they keep us firmly on the ground.
What do you think about board memberships? You've worked on quite a few boards.
Yeah. I don't mind putting politicians on the boards, right? But if you have competent people to listen, that they'll listen. If you put a political person in charge of a board and he thinks that the best way to run the board is to run to the president or run to the powers that be and say, I don't like this man, and you're not doing the best. But if you engage them and you listen to them and they tell you that let's look at it this way, then fine.
Which of the boards filled you with lots of joy that you worked on?
The National Theatre was a good one. I was in charge of the museums and monuments board. We're very under-resourced. And I believe that there were certain things that I should have been put into place in the board. We needed a legal department. We needed a real estate department, a survey department, and things that would back up the board. And it was very hard getting people to make those decisions. And so you found out that you're working without tools. So maybe I failed. But I think that in terms of my human relationship with the people as well.
What was the most frustrating thing about working in a public institution?
Decision making.
Takes too long, eh?
It takes too long. Takes too long. And there are too many barriers. And I don't like the political angle that you've got to play politics in order to get something done. And I'm being realistic. I'm not being idealistic at all. I mean, it's not all the time that you've got to use politics. You've got to be able to use your wherewithal, your intelligence and mental acuity to do the right thing.
Let's talk international exposure, diplomacy. You've traveled widely.
Yeah.
What did your travel outside of Ghana teach you about Ghana?
That's a great country. Every time I go out and I come back, I know that we have got, as I said, the wellspring of doing things better. My frustration is that there are a lot of things we can do better, and there are people there who can do it who are being ignored. We're not using our resources, our human resource, as best as we can. And yet this is a country where we have so many human resource experts. Now let me tell you something. You've got tech, all right? You're producing mechanical engineers. Do you know the amount of government vehicles that are unserviceable?
And the buses too.
All right. And you've got engineers. So what do? National service. If national service, we have 16 workshops, all right? Well-equipped workshops. Go to Japan, go and tell them that most of our cars here are Japanese. Go to Koreans, and so we want to set up a workshop. And then you get these engineers and you tell them, let's repair these serviceable cars, let's refurbish them, let's sell them, and the receipts will be used to sustain us. And then you train people so that they know how to do things. Engineers will only be innovative when they are doing engineering. They cannot do it when they are teaching physics at a secondary school.
Or doing admin.
Admin, no way. Or working in a bank.
Engineers must do engineering.
Engineering, very much so.
You in General Assembly, what stays with you?
Oh, beautiful.
When did you go there first?
I went there first with Jerry Rawlings. I went there, I think, about 4 times with him. And he spoke a storm. But when it comes to speaking a storm, John Mahama, when he has a way of you know, I've always looked at him as a statesman because of his charm. He has a way with people, a very disarming way with people. And I've seen him with his peers, and they look on him with, you know,
awe.
Yes, because he's got style. But let's transmute it and turn it into something as a plus in Ghana.
Indeed. Africa's image abroad, fair or unfair?
Very unfair. Very unfair, because there's a big prejudice, there's a big block that Africa is the dark continent. And it's deliberate, because people don't want to concede that if it wasn't for Africa, they wouldn't be where they are. And so they've been trying to hide that. And so we've got to change it. We've got to change the narrative. And we can only change it when we start seeking excellence or aspiring for excellence within the spheres that we're in.
And knowing the history too.
Yeah, history.
So
very much so.
The contribution of Africa
to
the world must be known. What surprised you when you went to China?
Oh, China. The 3 countries I went to, Korea, China, and Japan, they work hard. You don't see laziness. They work hard, all of them. I mean, the energy. And Japan is an old nation, but you see old people doing things that young people should be doing. In Ghana, there's too much, we're too laid back. You know, when I'm driving and I see these ladies carrying things and they're running, and you see the energy in which they're doing, but what is it doing for the collective? We can harness that energy. We can harness that energy. You know, proficiency is important, but it comes through working hard.
We're not working hard enough.
We're too lazy about everything. We always look for the easier solutions. And that's the problem.
I'll tie that to your time in Parliament. Is there anything you miss about being in Parliament?
No. I've never missed Parliament.
The no came too quickly.
No. I never. I went to Parliament. I worked with people. There were a lot of pluses and a lot of minuses. But I left Parliament because I wanted to leave Parliament. I realized that I had shot my boat. There was no way, you know. I said, what am I doing here after a certain time? I said, no. When I was doing Sincerely Yours, I achieved more for my country than sitting in Parliament. Though there were pluses. And I respect the people who come into Parliament. I met a lot of wonderful, hard-working people. People who love their country in different ways. Some who were completely dismissed as no good. There was one guy. Look, he was a wonderful, for his constituency. You know, I was sitting down when he came and he sat with me. He said, oh, I just went to India. I've come back. I said, yeah. He said, oh, I've got to go to GRA. I said, why? He said, oh, I'm going to see if I can get they can help. You know, I brought in anti-venom because my people have been dying from snake bites because of when they go to share butter and all that, share nuts and all that kind of thing. And so I'm going, and I said, you thought about it? He said, yes. When you see somebody being bitten by a snake and you don't have the antidote and the person dies before you, and if you say this is somebody in the city, oh, you're Krasini. No. I met them, and I met people who would go line by line over every motion and everything and talk about it. You know, and I work very closely with the speaker. He's also another passionate person. He's so passionate that sometimes it becomes a fault. But that's what it's all about, you know.
So if you don't have the fire, don't go into parliament.
Oh,
possibly.
The fire, but fire, you know, you have cold fire too. I wouldn't knock anybody who wants to go there. But if you go into parliament because you want a V8 and you want to be called honorable, then forget it. Go there and go and work.
What are some of the pressures that you faced from the constituents? Did you get those early morning visits?
Oh yeah,
what was the earliest somebody would come to your house?
Oh, they'd come at 4. Yeah, they'd come at 4. But you see, I'll complain, but I shouldn't complain because you become the face of government. You become the face of the solution to their problems because the systems are not in place. All right? So it's a lazy man's way. Let's go to him and get out.
Let's go to the MP.
And we should create the systems. We should have a social security system. We should have a system that looks after people's school fees. We should make sure that we have good hospitals. We should make sure that, we don't have mammograms, mammographs. Mammographs.
Yeah, mammographs.
Yes. We don't have mammographs. We don't have kidney dialysis machines enough and all those things. And yet you see somebody, he's bought himself a 2 million car and everybody's praising him. And he doesn't think that the 2 million car or the private jet is at odds with the fact that he could have done more, especially when he comes from a society that is impecunious.
Don't have money.
Yeah. And you come from there, you go to your village when you can, little things. Make sure you have the clinics, make sure you have the antibiotics, make sure you have the antivenom. All those things are important.
Is it really that expensive to become an MP?
Yes. Because we're not looking at the job, the greater picture. We're looking at, hey, I want to be an MP because straight away I will have a job, I'll have a regular income, all right? And that's what a lot of people are doing now. And that's wrong. And then the people who, because the system is not helping them, are saying, well, you'll owe me. If I help you, owe me, or give me, because I know if you get there, you'll forget me.
So when you announced that you wouldn't go beyond the second term, did you get any pushback?
Oh, not too much.
Honorable, stay.
No.
Nobody said that?
Because if they have sucked you dry, they want another person to...
The sucking must continue.
Continue. Oh, yeah, you've done your 2 years, you go and rest.
Who is coming next?
Next year. Oh, I'll be unfair. There are a lot of people who came to me and said, we wish you could.
You would say. But you were firm.
I'm firm. I was firm. I didn't want to be there anymore.
You were also Minister for Information.
Yeah.
What was that like? What was the hardest job of managing information?
I wasn't. I was excited when I was appointed the minister. Though I'm not saying that. I'll be very honest with you. I didn't go into politics to be a minister. But when I became a minister, I realized that it wasn't what I thought I could. But my biggest thing was I was thinking of GBC. What
was your plan for GBC?
My plan for GBC was to make it the hub for information in this country. That GBC excellence, the center of excellence, that whatever information would come out of GBC would be tickety-boo, you understand? And for training, and if anybody came out of GBC or worked at GBC and they came out, they would be respected because they'd blue ribbon, you understand? And the fact that we had a lot of FM stations, I mean, that's good. But the center should hold in terms of holding our culture, our language, you know, our history. They should be there, the crucible for that.
What were the challenges? Why didn't it work out the way you wanted it to work out?
That wasn't a priority for government at the time, you know. I mean, so
wasn't that odd?
Yeah,
It's a state and public broadcaster.
well, the world had changed, and we had a lot of institutions that diffused that dream. National Media Commission, which is a good organization, I was a member. National Communications, they were having little turf wars and things like that. But I really, you know, and I'm disappointed because when I went to GBC, I wasn't very happy at the state of the infrastructure and all that. And I believe, and I'm going to fight for it. When I talk to the powers that be, I'll say, come on, put some money into GBC.
And if they don't, what do you think the future will be for the maybe next 5-10 years?
We'll become like America. And America, you know, their communications environment is not a good one. It breeds division. It breeds division. I want something that will unify us. And we are a developing country. We're not developed. So we need something that would, you know, hold us together.
Before we end this conversation, brief chat on Sincerely Yours. That was a program that a lot of Ghanaians enjoyed and still remember. Describe Sincerely Yours to a Gen Z viewer of the show.
It's a variety program, but the main purpose was to inform. The idea of Sincerely Yours was to take people where they wanted to go and ask questions on their behalf that if they were there, they would ask. You understand? So if I went to Manshia and I would put myself, I would say, what would a Ghanaian on the street ask about Manshia?
Okay.
You see what I mean? So it was to inform, because my thing is about information. Information, history, giving people a certain sense of themselves so that they have the tools to solve problems.
Did you succeed while it was on the air?
Well, Sincerely Yours was, I've sat down with people who have said things to me that are very touching, that they were influenced by Sincerely Yours and everything. And very recently I found recordings, and I was looking at it and saying, did I really do this?
You did some wild things on the show?
No. I mean, I worked hard. You know, I mean, the kind of questions I asked are the things I asked.
Without the benefit of ChatGPT now?
Yeah.
You were crafting these
yourself? No,
crafting
them. No, I don't even use those things now. Anyway, but the thing is, I have to say that when I look at you and others, you know, they are very young. You give me hope. I'll tell you that. I have to say it. When I look at Bernard and I look at you, and I say, thank God they are here.
Bernard. Bernard Avle.
Avle, yes.
Yes, he's a great guy.
Great guy.
He knows his stuff.
And the others,
yes.
you know, and I'm very pleased.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Right.
You're a chief now also?
Oh,
Noya.
Noya is a development chief.
Manche.
Yeah, but the village is a village that is run by my family. My maternal grandmother's family. It's a little beyond in Sawam on the Ga side, you know, just on the borders of the eastern region. And I'm the Noya Manche there because that's my grandmother's village. It's called Akwiman. And they grabbed me and said, come and help.
Was it a real grab?
A real grab, yeah.
So where were you when they grabbed you?
Oh, they invited me for a chat about something. Then they grabbed me and then they got a chip and poured the blood over my feet. I said, oh boy.
Did you have any intelligence that this might happen?
No!
None at all?
None at all.
We should study their security systems, you know. For you not to know, you were on the Defense Interior Committee.
Yeah, but I retired at left Parliament.
Yeah. So you had no inkling?
No, I just thought that they wanted, I mean, it's because I had a certain pomposity that they needed my intelligence. So I had gone to chat with them and to tell them what we were going to do. And not knowing that that was the plan, they grabbed me and they, whoa.
And that was it. So were you confined and taught the culture and everything?
Yeah, I was confined, not too long, but I was confined and then, yeah, and that was it.
So your stool name is Ni?
Ni Aye Baffour, which is surprising because the Baffour is the original Baffour. Yes.
I mean, the stars aligned in a way.
Yeah, aligned, yes.
Yes,
Well
yeah.
said, well said.
Can tradition and modern governance exist? Should they exist?
Yes, I believe that we should take our traditional governance system very seriously because being a chief is not about culture and entertainment and dance. It's about governance. And so government, the modern government should invest in research and in crafting the role that traditional governance should play in our modern political environment. Are we supplementary? Are we alternative? Are we a replacement? These are the questions that we've got to ask and couch it because chiefs still play a very important role, but it's subliminal and it's in the dark, you know? So we really have to correct that. If we don't correct it, it's going to create a problem for us.
Could a step be taking chieftaincy out of culture and religion and putting it in, say, local government as a ministry?
That was the idea. But the thing is, we have to do, there has to be an academic exercise, all right, for us to describe, just like we've done with the Constitution, a review of our traditional governance systems, get inputs from our traditional rulers, because we've got some clever ones, look at the Ashanti experience, the Gonja experience, the Dagbon experience, even the Boko experience, and see how best we can make it something that will enhance our society.
Which, if you look at the responsibilities of a chief, what weighs heaviest on them?
What weighs is the welfare of their people.
Simple as that.
That's all.
And that ties in with the modern
everything. Yeah. And the ability to deliver.
Okay, so results.
So that is the problem. The inability to deliver is the one that creates the problems. Get involved in Galamsey, involved in this, it's because you have inhibited the ability to deliver. Unless they come in naturally wealthy, or they've got a line of resources coming in.
Yeah, which shouldn't be the case. I'm glad you brought Galamsey up. What's the role of chieftaincy in dealing with this menace? Very
much like the district chief executive. Every district has got a DISEC.
District Security Council.
Yeah. So if they are doing their work well, all right, you can control Galamsey. And also, if they work with the chiefs, and the chiefs are together, and the chiefs know what Galamsey is doing to the society, and there's harmony between those two organizations, we can sort Galamsey out.
Was it a headache for you when you were on the Defense and Interior Committees?
No. I
mean, Galamsey was
no,
a headache. It wasn't.
It wasn't.
It means it hadn't gotten to the
stage. No, it hadn't got to the stage. It was still, you know, though we had an idea that certain things were happening, it hadn't come to the fore like this one. Yeah. So it's a recent development in the magnitude of the problem.
Okay. We're wrapping this conversation up. I want to talk a bit about you and your personal life. I mean, how has marriage shaped your journey?
Oh,
you mentioned earlier that your first marriage broke down.
Yeah,
but you're still in touch with them.
I tell you, I love women, but I'm not talking about from the salacious point of view.
Okay.
I respect women because I've been surrounded. I've been brought up by very strong women. I've gotten to know very strong women, and I think that if you're a man and you want to progress in life, you have to get married and marry a good woman. And I've been very, very fortunate. Both wives, the first wife was super. I didn't understand that. I got married a little too young.
How young were you?
I was 24.
That was young?
Yeah, that's young. I'm foolish. But,
you added the foolish to it then?
Yeah, I added the foolish to it. But, and I didn't appreciate, because women tend to know where they're going earlier than men. You understand? You're still trying to sow your wild oats and do foolish things. But you know, I've been very fortunate. I have a tremendous wife, strong, you know, I mean, and when she gives me the eye, just like my mother, I behave. You understand? But it's been very good. It's been the anchor of what I am now. You know.
Good to know. Has politics cost you anything in the
No.
family? It hasn't touched your family?
It has, but I mean, it's all part of life. You can't expect the good all the time. But there are certain things that will help toughen you. And politics, I'm very happy I went into politics because it's given me a new experience, a new sort of, I'd like to say, exposure to the human mind, and that nothing comes easy. You understand? And that when somebody comes to you asking you in pain, don't dismiss him and say he's a foolish man, he's a drunkard, he's a this. You've got to understand that society has created certain negatives, and that when you go into politics, you are there to try and resolve those negatives. Okay. So you've got to understand human beings more. Yes, it's nice. I mean, war stories. Oh yeah, this man did this and he came to me and it's nice. And we'll crack jokes. But the reality is that you went into politics to resolve issues.
That's it.
So if you haven't, to a certain extent, you failed.
What do your children know you for? The public Fritz Baffour or the private?
My children, it's love, you know. I mean, my children, you know, I have only one son, and the daughters, I just adore them. They do things that make you feel good. The boys are a little bit distant. The boys are a little distant, but yeah, he's competing with his dad.
Yes,
you know.
Of course.
But the girls,
they gravitate towards daddy.
Yeah, daddy.
Yeah. What keeps you grounded these days?
What keeps me grounded? Being a Ghanaian. Being a Ghanaian. Being a member of a family, being a member of, you know, a society and all that keeps me grounded. That I can't let my side down.
Indeed. Yeah. When you look back, what are the threads that connect your life?
Oh, family, friends, loved ones, both in and out, humankind, and religion, God. I love my God. I think God is there and keeps you together. You know, so prayer is very important, and you should never ever be dismissive of the spiritual side that you have in yourself.
Full disclosure, in the mornings I get a flyer from you with some motivational words. I like them.
Thank you very
I like them very much.
Thank you very
much. Did Ghana give you more, or did you give Ghana more?
Oh, Ghana's given me so much, and I can't imagine how I'm going to pay back. That's the truth. I love this country, and I love the people too.
But what disappoints you, though?
That we're not doing enough together. That the lack of togetherness, the lack of, you know, all hands on deck. It disappoints me.
So the collective has to be more reinforced.
Yeah, very much so.
What gives you hope? You talked about hope, but what gives you the hope? Where is it? Where's the wellspring of this hope?
As I said, the tremendous wellspring of people out there. When I look at you, when I look at the crew here who've come in the morning, they're all proud of the work they're doing and all that. If we can spread that throughout the country, we're going to leave the rest of the world behind.
What are the top Fritz Baffour tips for young communicators? How do you get your message across?
Hard work, research, read a lot, and try as much as possible to shed off any prejudicial thoughts when you're going to do your work. Keep an open mind.
Sounds good. How would you want history to remember Fritz Baffour?
That I was a true Ghanaian and African.
That's it. And then when all is said and done, your legacy is?
I left something behind that will put a smile on somebody's face.
It's a real pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And that's our conversation with the man of many parts, Mr. Fritz Baffour. Let's have the conversations in the comments. And if you haven't yet subscribed, what are you waiting for? Just make it just do it right now. Then you get the alerts. My name is Kafui Dey. Hope you enjoyed it. God bless.